Hello everyone. Today we will travel back to Renaissance era and I have a very interesting topic for discussion and that is the Renaissance, a rebirth of knowledge and culture. So the word may be pronounced as Renaissance or Renaissance. In British pronunciations we pronounce it as Renaissance while in American pronunciation we pronounce it as Renaissance. So in whatever pronunciations you feel comfortable and you are convenient with, you can pronounce it. Let's begin and learn. So let me show first the main content. So we will introduce the time and change what happened in the Renaissance period. We will discuss the decline of feudalism and the rise of money and some fun fact there'll be about Leonardo da Vinci, that who sponsored him that time. We will also talk about the reawakening of art, science and thought and some great artists you can see here, Raphael's and Leonardo da Vinci and also Mona Lisa, right? William Shakespeare, who can forget it and who can skip him from Renaissance period. He's a very prominent and important figure of Renaissance, English Renaissance period. And you can see the stage, right, of Renaissance era, which was highly promoted by Queen Elizabeth. We will also talk about the Protestant reformations and religious revolutions, where the church split in two parts, Catholic and Protestant. And King Henry VIII, he had contributions in this splitting of the church, where some European countries, we can say from west side, they became Protestant, and like France, Italy, and these countries remain Catholic. Some fun fact about the time, we will talk about the the Tudor from Henry VIII to Elizabeth I, and Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, the Golden Age, and Spanish. We will talk about also James I, Civil War, and then the Restoration period in England where the monarchy was restored. And some fun closing, how the Renaissance still shapes our world. This will be our final comment and thought. So we will see if the lecture prolong and become very lengthy, so then we will also make two parts of this lecture. But let's begin from the introduction to the period. So I hope that you will enjoy this lecture with me. There are a lot of new things and a lot of fun fact about the time. So you can see here, this is the image and a very famous painting of Renaissance period, where we can see that people were taking interest in philosophy, in science, technology, and you see they kept aside religion, Christianity. Introduction, a time of change, right? So there is change and a great change in entire Europe after the medieval period. So from 550 till 15th century or the middle of 14th century, we can see this period fall into medieval period. So a great change occurred in the Renaissance period with the 15th century, where the Renaissance, this movement began in Italy and France in 15th century, and then it spread other part of the Europe. It entered England in 16th century. So in the 15th and 16th centuries, Europe was emerging from the Middle Ages, right? I discussed Middle Ages in detail in my previous lectures. And the world was about to experience one of the most transformation period in history. Entire world and particularly Europe, right? What was happening? A great change was there, right? In the form of humanism, in the form of science and technology, in the form of literature, in the form of architecture, in the form of thought. So you see that this movement revolutionized the entire world and particularly Europe. So imagine that a world of knights, castles and feudalism, suddenly giving way to a new age of exploration, art, and scientific discovery. So in medieval period, we can see feudalism, where the land belonged to the king, the noble, lesser nobles, and the knight and the peasants. They had to work at night, right? And we can see also in that medieval period some castles, some knights, but you see that giving away to a new world where there is no more feudalism, no more knights, right? And the world changed entirely, and I'm referring particularly Europe. Third, this period known as the Renaissance. You can say Renaissance or you can say Renaissance or rebirth marked what happened, a profound shift in how people saw themselves, their world, and their relationship to knowledge. Now, people, first of all, they discover themselves, who they are, what are their role, right? And they were looking the world from a different perspective now, right? Because the church was the dominant institutions all over the Europe, and the church controlled everything. And then we can see Copernicus, we can see Galileo, right? We can see German philosopher Martin Luther King, right? That his role to reform the Christian church, Roman Catholic Church, right? Then we can see Henry VIII. So these all were happening in Renaissance period, and entirely the world changed in this age. Now, our second heading, that is the decline of feudalisms and the rise of money. Because when you have a lot of, in medieval period, people did not have a lot of money. So there was a system, land system, that was known as feudalism. In feudalism, only a few people were rich. The king, the nobles, lesser noble, the knight, and the church. So the money would go to the church, the money would go to the king, the knights, the nobles, right? And while majority of people, they were spending their life in poverty. Lot of money was not there. Now the system is being transformed, is changed from, there is a shift from feudalism. Now people have lot of money. So feudalism, the system where vassals provided military service in exchange for land from lords. So the land would be given to the knights, and the knights would provide services to the lord, was slowly crumbling. So a new economy based on money began to take hold. Now feudalism, say to feudalism, bye-bye now. So rather than working the land, vassals began paying their lords in money instead of military services, right? So things are getting changed now. This created a more flexible and dynamic system. Rather than money would be given to you rather than to serve in the land. So which allow lords to hire professional soldiers. Now, right, the kings, they had money and they needed to buy professional soldiers rather than those who were working in their lands. So the rise of trade and banking meant that money rather than land, what happened, became a powerful source of influence. Now, if you had money, you were powerful, not land, that in 16th and 15th century. So powerful cities like Florence, Venice, we're talking about Italian cities, and London, England city, became hubs of wealth, culture, and new ideas. New ideas were generating. From where? From Venice, from Florence, and from London. And people had money, right? So land did not matter now. Money, it matters. The kings, they would buy professional soldiers to defend their lands. So some fun fact. Did you know that during the Renaissance, wealthy merchants and bankers like Medici family in Florence became patrons of arts? So they are going to sponsor, right, and to finance artists now. So funding the greatest artists of the time like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, right? Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were great Italian artists. They were funded and they were sponsored by a family that was known as Medici family in Italy. Now we can see some more the Renaissance reawakening the art, science and thought. The term Renaissance comes from the French word for rebirth, and it was indeed a rebirth of classical ideas from ancient Greece and Roman. So what was actually Renaissance? That was a rebirth. Rebirth of what? Of the ancient Greek and ancient Roman thoughts, ideas, civilizations, and they were taking inspirations from them. This was the time when humanism and the center of everything became what? Human being. They believed that human beings had the potential for greatness, flourished, and the Renaissance laid the groundwork for the future of art, literature, science, and explorations. So this was the age of reawakening the arts, science and thought. Great artists and writers. The 16th century saw the emergence of geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, who was an Italian artist or painter. Similarly, Raphael and Michelangelo, who painted masterpieces and designed remarkable sculptures that are still revered today. You might know about Mona Lisa. That was the painting which was made by Leonardo da Vinci. And he has the capability to draw painting or a picture with both hands at the same time. Think of the Mona Lisa. You can see if you are happy, so the girl seems that she is passing a smile. And if you are sad, it seems that she is weeping. So this is the magic of this painting. Similarly, you can see the Sistine Chapel here. Okay, it's another painting drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. In literature, that was in painting and art. In literature, William Shakespeare. So who can forget Shakespeare, the most important figure of Renaissance period, who lived in Queen Elizabeth time when she was ruling upon England. So a product of English Renaissance, wrote plays and explored human nature and the complexity of life. Remember Hamlet, to be or not to be, that's the question. Remember Othello and remember King Lear. These are the masterpieces or tragedies of William Shakespeare. So he explored human nature, where he talked about procrastination, jealousy, overambitious, etc. His work including Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet. So Hamlet is a tragedy while Romeo and Juliet is a historical play. And Macbeth is also one of the greatest tragedy of all times, are still performed around the world today. Even in 21st century, not just in the world, but also in institutions and universities in the department of literature, English literatures and other literatures also. You can see image from Hamlet, and this is William Shakespeare, and this image from Romeo Juliet play, balcony, a very memorable scene from Romeo Juliet play. So this is the stage, and this modern stage was given to us by this Renaissance period. The Protestant Reformations, a religious revolution. So we can also see that if we have revolution in science and arts and technology and in literature, so we can also see revolution in the shape or in the form of religion. Because the Christian church, there was only one church, that was Roman Catholic Church. So people raised question on the corruption of the church, Roman Catholic Church. It's going to be split on two parts, Protestant and Catholic now. So in 1517, at the beginning of 16th century, a German monk, you might know his name, Martin Luther, who was also a professor, he sparked the Protestant Reformation by protesting the Catholic Church, because he protested. He identified 95 things which were wrong in Roman Catholic, right? In the teaching, because Bible was not wrong, but the practices of Roman Catholic were wrong. So Catholic Church practices of selling indulgences, you might know, okay, from Canterbury Tales, where the partners were distributing certificates among the people. These were indulgence. So first they tried to indulge people into wrongdoer, and then they gave them certificate, and in return they took money to give it to the church. So a kind of forgiveness for sins. So Luther's 95 thesis, I told, okay, and begin a way of religious upheavals that eventually led to the creation of Protestantism. It's a new sect in Christianity, right? On the one hand, Roman Catholic. On the other hand, we have Protestant. England became Protestant, right? Some other parts of Western Europe also, like north part. This is the man, you can see that Henry VIII, who separated England church from Roman Catholic one. The Reformation and England. So in England, King Henry VIII was initially a loyal Catholic. He was a Catholic one. But what happened? But when the Pope refused to annul his marriage to Catherine of Arragon's, so the Pope, he said that your marriage is not legal, it's illegal because you married with your sister-in-law, right? So Henry famously broke away from the Catholic Church in 1534 and established the Church of England, so also known as the Anglican Church. So there was a controversy on this marriage because he wanted to divorce his wife. There was no male here from that wife. And second, okay, that he was entrusted, another one. So the church or the Pope was not giving permission to him. So he broke with the Roman Catholic Church, right? And he announced that England, its own church, that was Anglican Church. So sometime I will tell the whole story of Henry VIII. So this was a massive political and religious shift. Henry's decisions would lead to the dissolution of monasteries in England and the break from Rome and years of religious conflict. So in this way, England became Protestant and it has its own church, that was Anglican Church. A fun fact: Henry VIII was known for 6 marriages, and his infamous divorces and executions of wives were part of the tumultuous political landscape of the time. So what was he famous for? First, he was famous for his 6 marriages, and then he was also famous for infamous divorces and executions of wives. The Tudor from Henry VIII to Elizabeth I. So we know about Elizabeth I that she ruled over England from 1558 till 1602. One of the most important figure in the history of England. The Tudor dynasty ruled England for much of the 16th century, and its reign was marked by drama, intrigue, and significant change. For the drama, we know Queen Elizabeth I. Or Queen Elizabeth I. Henry VIII. Henry VIII reign started in 1509, that was the beginning of 16th century, was marked by military successes, but it was his marriages that made him famous. So he did success in what? Military campaigns, right? But he got famous, or he became famous for his 6 marriages that made him famous. Now his break with the Catholic Church created the Church of England, but this split also had major consequences for his family. Elizabeth I, the Golden Age. So her reign is known for the Golden Age because there was tremendous success not just in literature but in all fields, right? Because she defeated Spanish Armada, right? There was a big ship. It was difficult to defeat in that time. And in all like walk of life, and particularly in literature, it is remembered as the Golden Age. And then Shakespeare was also living in her age. After Henry's children Edward IV and Mary I ruled briefly for a short time, right? Edward IV and Mary I. Henry's daughter Elizabeth I took the throne in 1558 and she ruled on England for a long time. There's almost, you can say, for 1558 till 1602, so 60, we can say 40, 42, and almost for 44, 45 years. So under the leadership, England became a dominant sea power. As I told that in her rule, that she also defeated French ship. Sorry, not French, Spanish armada, that was a sea ship. Defeating the mighty Spanish armada, as I was talking about in 1588. And Elizabeth's reign is often considered the golden age of England, a time of great cultural achievements, explorations, and stability in England. So, illustrations, you can see a portrait of Queen Elizabeth I in the magnificent attire, holding a globe to symbolize England's expanding empire. You can see this picture. And here there's Spanish Armada in her time when you see her forces defeat that Armada. It was difficult to defeat it. Now the Stuart from James I to civil war. After we can see another family, it was the end of Tudor family. Now we can see the Stuarts family. James I, 1602, and then go on to civil war that ended in 1649. So when Elizabeth I died without any, because she did not marry. This is why she's also called a virgin queen, right? She did not marry. So she did not produce any heir. In 1603, what happened? The throne passed to her cousin James IV of Scotland, right? It was a law, it was a rule, who became James I of England. So the Stuart family rule was marked by tension with Parliament and religious conflict. Religious conflict with the Puritans, and we can also see that between Parliament and monarchy there was a civil war. So James' son Charles I believed that the divine right of kings and clashed with Parliament, leading to the English Civil War. In 1649, Charles I was executed and beheaded, and Oliver Cromwell briefly ruled England as a Commonwealth. So Commonwealth is a term when there was no queen and king rule over England from 1649 till 1660. Who was ruling? That was Oliver Cromwell, Parliament. The Restoration. The restoration of monarchy in England in 1660. After Commonwealth death, the monarchy was restored in 1660 and Charles II was called to rule over England. When Charles II, son of Charles I, was invited back to the throne, and he was in France. So this period is known as the Restoration period, and it saw the return of monarchy and the reopening of theaters and flourishing of science and culture. Because during Puritan time, or during when there was no monarchy, there was Commonwealth, so all the theaters were closed, right? And you see, nothing was produced in that time. Again, now we have some ideas, and ideas would be brought from the France by Charles II. Fun fact: the term restoration comes from the return of monarchy after Commonwealth's Puritan rule, and Charles II's reign also saw the founding of Royal Society and the first scientific institutions of its kind in England. This is a fun fact. Some images from the time. Now, fun closing, how the Renaissance still shape our world. The Renaissance not only transformed Europe but also set the stage for modern science, art, politics, and even our understanding of the world. So the foundation which was laid in the Renaissance period still has impact on our modern world. Now, the Protestant Reformations and the creations of the Church of England and the rise of Queen Elizabeth I all played a crucial role in shaping modern world, particularly Europe. As we look back at this remarkable period, we realize that the Renaissance and the Tudors created a legacy that influences our lives today, whether through the arts, the scientific method, or our political system. The echoes of the age are still with us. So thank you so much. It was all about Renaissance period. We will discuss more about this period, so please do provide your valuable insight in comments in comment section. Thank you so much.